All right, so um I mean this is Dan and Anthony once again from the pregame network, also BOON syndication on YouTube. We used to do recordings for podcasting, like I think we just said it was about 9 years ago, but I mean something that we're both deeply passionate about, so we wanted to start it up again. But I think this episode of the podcast, we really wanted to talk about the return to form for us and the state of the industry as a whole, because shit's been going sideways lately. So yeah, what's happening, Anthony?
Yeah, it's like you said, the industry's kind of been in a bit of a funk. I know that back when we had the pregame lobby, our original podcast, there were a lot of topics that we talked about that we kind of said, like, you know, something's kind of brewing, but at the same time, it was like it was so far at the horizon that like nobody really knew what was going to happen. Like I remember, like we talk about all the bad things that have happened and where the industry is kind of at, and if you go all the way back to our original podcast, we actually touch on like Gamergate as an example.
Do
and
we
like,
really? I don't even
yeah, we
remember.
do. But here's the thing:
yeah, wow.
the reason you don't remember is we kind of had this moment where we look at each other. It's like, this is all bullshit. What does this have to do with games? And then it turns out like all these awful people were just like in the process of ruining what we loved.
Yeah, and you know what was crazy? Like back in the 9-10 years ago, that's back when gaming was like, I hesitate to say this in its entirety, but back when it was fun. Like I have something written down next to me, which I want to touch on as like the first topic, but I'll save it for in a little bit.
What I'll say is this: you say back when they were fun. What I always say, when I've told this to people, is there were a few eras of games that we kind of came up with where things were like really good and people were pushing their limits as to what they could make. I would say, you say 9 or 10 years ago is about the time where we just like ran out of time. We got pretty busy. That was around, 2014, 2013, 2015. I think the last golden age of gaming ended around 2012. Like it was crazy in like 2004 to 2006, 2007.
2007 might be the craziest, like the best year in gaming I think we've ever lived through.
It was pretty crazy. I won't rule us out yet. I think there are good times ahead once we get past all this bullshit that's been going on. But no, I'd say that's pretty accurate in a way where like, everybody kind of has their watermark. 2007 is a fine watermark. I like the more experimental 2006, 2005, where like the generation beforehand was like pushing itself as it was
still
dying.
Kicking, like
exactly
even into the next gen.
Yeah. There's a video. I'm not gonna go too far off topic, but there's a video I did on Dead Rising. It's a like little recommendation video, and I was kind of setting the stage, and I said, 2006. I was talking about, I think it's one of my favorites from 2006, and as I'm talking about it, there's just a list of all these major releases that came out in 2006 alone, and it's just a wild
There's
lineup.
A YouTuber that I like. He pops up on my feed every now and again, and a big focus for him lately, especially, has been like essentially what we're talking about, like the absolute state of shit that the industry has found itself in, and like everyone saying that the stigma is that you're looking back with rose-tinted glasses, but then he goes back to like 2006 or 2007 and lists every game that came out that year, and it was just like banger after banger after banger, like it just kept going. And you sit there and you look at this list and you just remember, holy shit, like all these games were at least 8.5s out of 10. Like that was the bare minimum, and you just don't see that anymore.
No, yeah, and that's what I'm talking about when I say like 2012 is the cutoff point for me, is because I think that after that point is where like we stopped getting 8.5 wasn't the standard anymore. It was kind of wobbling, and you weren't getting as many hard hitting 10s out of the blue anymore.
Right.
But yeah, the bottom line is it's been a while for the industry. It's been a while for us. Although I will say that your intro, it's pretty much identical to what I was expecting from like the older podcasting days.
I
So
mean, I
some
haven't
things
changed that much.
I know, but the industry certainly has. How like you've kind of been in Destiny jail for a while. You've kind of like you sent yourself to the mines while I was out here in the trenches. So you were just kind of hunkered down in.
You know what it was like? There weren't any games that were releasing on Xbox, or because I don't have a PlayStation, so there really wasn't any like major titles hitting Xbox or PC that I really cared about ripping myself away. I mean, there were some, don't get me wrong, but the thing that's really got me in the can now, and I'm sure you know what I'm going to say, is Helldivers 2. Like
whatever wakes you up.
Yeah, I haven't played Destiny in weeks. Like, so I logged in recently to buy all of the Mass Effect armor for my characters, because it's not like I'm gonna never play the game again. Like, I'm obviously gonna go back and see the light,
finish the fight
through. Right? Yeah, nice. I like it. But like, depending on and look, this is a little bit of a tangent for me because Destiny 2 has been such a fucking fixture in my gaming career over the past like at least 5 years at this point that it warrants talking to, because I feel like I'm almost the perfect human thermometer as far as where the first person shooter fan might be if they play a lot of it's tough to explain, but
I kind of see where you're going. I understand what you're saying, because Destiny is, it's got RPG and MMO elements in it, but it was designed to cater to somebody like you who isn't necessarily big into those genres but plays a lot of shooters.
Although my personal game of the year last year was Cyberpunk, so like, it's I don't know, man. I've been all over the place, but like you said, I broke out of Destiny jail very recently, and I've been enjoying my time on the outside. I've been eating very, very well.
It's good because you see, I never went to Destiny jail, and I've been watching my options just go away as the industry just fucking goes down the shitter. But there have been a lot of great experiences in the last 10 years, and it's more for me, less for you, but it also gives me an opportunity to go back further to games that I may have missed from like the 90s and the early 80s. I know you're not big into that because, smart guy like you, great with computers, emulation is just not a hurdle you've ever cleared for whatever reason.
I just don't care enough to do that. Like, you know what it is? Like, the quality of life bar, it's really tough for me to hop over that to the other side. And I accept that. It's, it is what it is. It's fine.
It took
I have been going back and playing through a lot of games that I did love when they came out. Like, I'm playing through Arkham Knight. I just picked that up on sale on Steam. It was like $9 for everything. That's fantastic. I'm playing through Control. I think that came out at like 2018, 2019. I mean, it wasn't like a classic or anything, but it's fun. And it's like playing through a Stephen King novel, and I like his books. And what else did I go through recently that
I know you tried the System Shock remake. I don't know how far you got in that. You sounded like you were taking a pounding there.
Not so much. I got I'm checking right now. What was my playtime at? My System Shock playtime is 5.5 hours. So like, I haven't played
your foot in the door
that much. Right, but I started playing it at a very poor time because Helldivers just came out. All these games went on sale on Steam, and like, I just kind of put it down. Like, it's good. It's not like it's not really like my speed as far as game genre goes, but it definitely kind of sucked me in the 5 hours. But there are some things that I just want to go and play more.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So what else did I play through recently? I played through something. God, it's gonna bother me now.
It's gonna be a blur because this is like we said, first time in a while
BioShock,
you've actually
that's what
been.
It was.
There you go. That masterpiece of a game, BioShock.
No. BioShock Infinite. We spoke
not
about this.
Not a masterpiece of a game. Terrible, disappointing, abysmal. Fuck you.
God, it wasn't that bad.
I did listen. That game. One day I'll be doing a thing on BioShock Infinite because you have a masterpiece like BioShock, you have an sequel like BioShock 2, and then you have Infinite, which is the one everybody loves. and I'm just like, I can't. It's
I'm
just like
convinced
everything
everybody
about
loves
it.
it so much because of the marketing, the setting of the city in the sky, and the voice acting cast.
Columbia is a great setting. So like the deck was
Yeah.
kind of stacked there. So I get that.
But I have been going back and playing through games that I haven't necessarily touched in quite a long time. I also Borderlands 3 was another one. God of War was another one. Ratchet and Clank I bought on PC and I played through it again. Fucking love Ratchet and Clank so much.
The Ratchet and Clank games are great.
And Remnant 2, like I went balls deep in a few weeks ago. Again, I'm trying to unlock that. It's an Easter egg class. I don't know how much you know about it, but the devs actually went out of their fucking way to hide an entire playable class just for data miners to find. And the unlock conditions for this thing are retarded. I'm like halfway there though.
That's neat. No, that's neat. I can appreciate something like that. Deep secrets like that used to be like the norm. Like there used to be like things like that. It's like here's the full experience. Now like what little bits and bobs can we add to it? What can we hide out there?
It's secrets for the sake of secrets. Like it's not, it's really just surface level. It's just there because it's cool to find.
And that's good. I like that. That's what I like.
Which I'm surprised you haven't played Remnant before. So we should definitely play that one.
We should play Remnant 2 at a certain point. We tried Remnant 1 a long time ago. Or not Remnant 1, I'm sorry. Because there's 3 Remnant games. No, there's 3 Remnant games. There's one that came... There was...
For the Ashes.
Yes, exactly. So we played Remnant 2, a.k.a. Remnant 1 from the Ashes. That's the one that we played.
You need to stop.
But yeah, so that's I'm glad you've been playing more than Destiny because quite frankly, it's like watching somebody... It was watching you play Destiny as Destiny and Bungie got progressively worse. It was like it was the same.
Fit into this conversation perfectly.
Yeah,
by the way,
it was the same experience as one might feel from visiting like a loved one in the hospital as like an uncurable disease just ate away at them. It was something like that. So I'm glad they found the cure. I hope that this final shape. What is it called? This last expansion. The final shape. I hope it is so like heart-wrenchingly disappointing that you never touch Destiny again. And I hope it kills Bungie.
Most mean. That is pretty.
It's not mean.
I don't know why you're saying this.
It's not mean. I
don't know why
want
you
you
hate
to be
the game
free.
so much.
I want it's like a bad abusive relationship that I want to watch you break up from. That's all. And I'm ready for it. I'm ready for this new day.
Right.
Like, listen, we got you playing real-time strategy games now. It's Age of Empires 4. I prefer Age of Empires 2. I've been trying for like 20 years. Is whatever. I'll take what I can fucking get.
And
so
you can get for real.
We need to kill Destiny 2 and your attachment to it, and you'll be free.
Only Bungie can do that. You realize this, right?
And they desperately want to.
I think you're right. Honestly, I think, okay, you know what? Let's just get into it because we're already talking about it now. Yeah, let's talk about Destiny for a little bit because I don't know if there is some grand overarching conspiracy. At the same time, though, the other side of that token is that Bungie literally cannot afford to have Destiny die. It is their only cash cow for the studio. We'll see what happens once Marathon comes out, but Destiny 2 is their only revenue source, and it's a big one at that. So, I just said only Bungie can kill Destiny. And I think that's true. We'll see where Helldivers goes because goddamn, Helldivers is so much fun. But Destiny. I'm sorry, Anthony, but like nothing is going to be able to replace like a 6-man raid in Destiny with those puzzle solving mechanics.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the you say that. It's just it hasn't been made yet. The industry is
that's fine. I agree. It hasn't been made yet, but until it's made, there's nothing else quite like it.
I have no choice. I must go back to Destiny Jail. You don't understand, Anthony. Oh my goodness, ridiculous.
You're ridiculous. You need to
No. Well, listen. You listen. Destiny 2 has been on the downturn. Everybody I know that plays it, aside from you and you, everybody's saying the same thing. It's in a bad place. When I
Dude,
heard
my
that
whole
one,
plan, people, yeah, good.
when I heard that one statement from the devs at Bungie where they said like they need to intentionally underdeliver, like I'm just like what's going on at that company?
Yeah, I mean, when you hear something like that from leadership, you're just like, okay, where's this going?
Like come on now, like
Um,
what am I supposed to do with that information? I'm certain like I'm not in that camp where like I'm gonna play some Destiny. I've been out of that camp for a while, but like what does that do for like the people playing and the people in your prospective players? Like who's gonna be
well, what
excited
it
for that?
does is that it makes us take a big fucking break. Honestly, I played for so long, for like over the past year, especially because my nights are very quiet. You know, I'll either play by myself or the clan that I'm in. Like, you think I'm bad? It's all these guys do is Destiny 2. So, and that was part of the reason why I went so deep into it, like so recently, because I always had somebody to raid with. I always had somebody to do a dungeon with. Like, it is fun gameplay, you know, but it's kind of like McDonald's. You can't live off of McDonald's, but it's still really fucking good when you want it. Um,
You should never be
so
comparing your your artistic gameplay experiences, your art, games, video games to McDonald's. Like that's no good.
the gameplay is still a ton of fucking fun though. But you know, they're getting rid of expansions. The final shape is going to be the last quote unquote expansion in the traditional sense. And then after that, they're doing this episodic content. There's supposed to be 3 episodes over the course of the next year following Final Shape. And they're supposed to be delivering. They're just changing up their content delivery model. So we'll see what that looks like. I mean, this has been talked about ad nauseum from all of the Destiny content creators already, so I'm not really going to go into it. But I think you have a enormous chunk of the Destiny population that once the final shape comes out and it's done and like you beat the main campaign and you beat the raid and then you beat the dungeon, I think an unbelievably large chunk of those players are just gonna just check out and never come back.
Yeah, I
And
think
that
that's
spells
likely.
out its own problems for Bungie. I mean, there are plenty of people who are diehard and just play PvP all the time, or they like to do dungeons all the time, or grandmasters or whatever. But you know, there are people like myself who've been playing since the D1 beta. And the whole reason why I started was because I'm a giant Halo fan, and we'll talk about that later. But I'm a huge Halo fan, and like, oh, what's Bungie doing next? Oh, they're making like this PvEVP like MMO type of thing.
They're chasing another trend that they're behind. They're like way behind on, and that's gonna be great. And they're using an older.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about Marathon.
Oh,
I was
what is
saying
it?
like I was saying back when they were talking about Destiny for the first time, they're making like this shooter that's gonna be like this spiritual successor to. This is what the thought was back then.
Okay.
They're making this shooter that's supposed to be like this spiritual successor to Halo, and it's gonna have PvP and it's gonna have PvE and it's gonna have all these different powers and abilities and shit and like countless weapons. I was hook, line, and sinker on that from the moment they said what it actually was, and a lot of people were too. And I remember, I'll never forget, I played the D1 beta way back when at Nicole's house when it first came out. And it felt great back then. It felt good to play. So, like, I've been playing for 9 years. Like, there was a big chunk where I didn't play, but been playing Destiny for 9 years. I've been there since the very beginning.
I'm just thinking, it's just like it's like 9 years since we've been podcasting regularly, 9 years since the industry hasn't been shit, and what coincides with that? Oh, Dan's been playing Destiny for the same amount of time as everything went to shit. What could this possibly mean?
Oh God.
But like I don't know, like one day when it finally ends, I'll have to like recruit you or something, because I want to do. There's a lot of things that interest me that may not interest you. Comparing Destiny 1
vice
to
versa.
Destiny 2.
I've been trying to get you to play so many games that I think are awesome, and
Yeah.
you're just not interested.
Yeah, my thing with Destiny, as far as like that kind of interest level, is like there is something to be said about the atmosphere and design and overall feel of Destiny 1 compared to Destiny 2. Not from a gameplay perspective, but from everything around it, from visuals and music. And I think that you can kind of see that erode as Destiny 1 went to Destiny 2 and so on and so forth. Because while I haven't played it as much as you, obviously, there were plenty of times where I had my eye on it to kind of see where it was at. And I think that Destiny will be a good, like, of all the things that happened during this industry downturn, I think Destiny will be something interesting to look at because it kind of sprouted when things were still kind of okay and is kind of like still trudging along while things are arguably at their worst.
Well, what's going to happen, and I would probably put money on this, is that the final shape is going to drop. It's going to be, I think it's going to be good, maybe even great, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to drag the game along for another 5 years or whatever it is. I think they're going to put it on live support in the same vein that they put Destiny 1 on live support.
That makes sense. When you say that, it's so crazy to me because I remember Destiny had this whole, it was like the 10-year roadmap for Destiny 1, and it's just like amazing how much has changed.
It's pretty much hit that.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just like I think I'm not going to get into it because, like I said, there's much I would need to do from a research standpoint because my memory's foggy because I checked out of Destiny a while ago. But it's going to be an interesting like autopsy. I'll put it that way. when the time finally comes, it'll be an interesting autopsy. Because
anyway, so let's move on from this because we're just going around in circles.
Because we talked about Destiny and like I kept mentioning the industry. I kind of want to do like we've talked about it a little, but I think that I've been a little bit more tuned into this. What do you think of the state of the industry as it is right now? Just like without like digging into an article, without
I'll give you my gut reaction without looking at anything. I actually have some of this written down next to me.
Yes. Go on.
So I think that the state of the industry overall is what you would put in probably like a borderline depressive bucket, with the exception of a couple good days here and there. Like what I mean by this is, and I'm gonna read this verbatim. This is what I wrote down in my notebook. So I wrote down that gaming used to be fun, but it feels like a job now. At least the vast majority of options feel this way. And giant, like big gaming studios and publishers, they have found a way to limitlessly monetize nostalgia. And this is at like a corporate realization level. I think there's a bunch of smaller examples where that's not the case. Like I'm gonna say Helldivers 2 is the most potent one right now because it just came out and the player counts are absolutely monstrous and the microtransactions are incredibly reasonable and they're not shoving them down your throat whatsoever. Other than that, like I'm hard pressed to come up with a new one just because this has been such a big thing recently. I mean, as far as games that like I just played because they're fun for me, Darktide is another big one. Warhammer 40k Darktide. I've been really into that lately. I have 145 hours on Steam. I mean, but like other than those two very small examples, one is obviously a lot smaller than the other. I think that that studios are forced to make things that they don't want to make or they had a different vision for, and the majority of the developers are uncomfortable in the tool sets that they are given to make these games. And it's become a real problem. And I also think that the corporate leadership apparatus, because the pricing models have been so disgustingly successful, they don't give a flying fuck about making a quality product anymore. That's what I think.
Okay, so I would say that a lot of what you had to say is pretty accurate and lines up with what I see and what I had thought at a certain degree. I will say to kind of like to look at it from your angle for a second without getting into the seediness of it just yet, with corporate, looking down and everything becoming monetization. A bulk of that comes from how the money is being spent in the time leading up to release. So even back when we were originally doing the PreGameLobby podcast, marketing budgets were out of fucking control. Like they would spend so much on marketing and hype
Well, I'll tell you why. Like they realized before they realized very early on that video games were were a more lucrative medium than like sports or any other entertainment medium ever. The only problem with that is that they couldn't figure out how to tap into that on a more direct way than how they're doing now. And I actually think that a lot of this goes back to the pandemic. I think the pandemic got a lot of people into gaming way more than they would have been otherwise. And oh, this skin is 15, 20 bucks. You know, I'll buy this. This looks cool. We all know that person who likes to buy those skins. And then like it bubbled and bubbled and bubbled and bubbled, and it finally popped. And the biggest pop I could think of is when Bungie, coming back to them, they had to cut their sales projections by like 40 fucking %. That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah. And like, listen, to an extent you are correct, because the way the pandemic affected, you know, people having free time to play games and more people getting into it. But that is just that's like the tail end of a long history of bad decisions. Because to kind of go back to where I was when we were still doing podcasting, marketing was out of control. What happened over time, and what I kind of touched on before when I kind of like poked Gamergate, and I don't want to like go into a whole history about that, but basically that was around the time where things kind of flipped, because while at the same time they were trying to get into the bigger market, get more people into games, the people that were there initially, both the original audiences and the original people behind all the games and whatnot, were all of a sudden they were like cast out to be villains. And you didn't necessarily feel it, because me and you didn't really feel it, because like the games were still good and the games were still getting made. But there was a big effort that over time just finally caught up with the industry, where it's just like, if you're a certain way, if you're a certain person, if you treat it this way, you treat it that way, you're just bad and awful and you should be out. And for what that does for us is we get worse products, and what it does at the top is industry-wide talent bleed. So people who were in the industry for a while, people who were making things work, were getting ousted or leaving, kind of seeing where the wind blows. And why do I bring this up? Well, aside from the fact that you want companies to have the best talent possible, because the most passionate people and the most talented people are going to deliver the best products, as you lose those people, what do? Well, you can't hire more talented individuals, because those people are the same ones that, you know, actors are chasing off that you're also trying to cater to. So what that led to was more outsourcing, more hiring the people that are the right kind of people, but they're only worth like 1/10 of like a talented individual. So now you're hiring more people, you're spending more money on people that you don't need, and at the same time you're opening you're opening spots in your company that don't do anything. It's like, human resources, diversity shit. Like now you're hiring 10 people for every one person you used to hire. You're opening positions that don't do anything for your games. You're spending more money on all that. So now your company's kind of in the shitter. What do you do for that? Oh, well, now you got to outsource. So now you're paying for a bloated company with that's doing bloated marketing campaigns, and nobody's doing the right job. But now you're outsourcing to China and India and Canada for everything. Like you'll outsource to like India and Korea to do code work and motion capture, and then you're right now, this is a big thing that's happening, is you're outsourcing to Canada because there's companies that'll write for you now. So it's like that's a big thing that's coming out right now. It's why everything kind of sounds like a shitty Marvel movie now, is because
it's so bad.
Yeah, it's so bad, and that's part of it, because they're outsourcing the writing, and those companies that they're outsourcing to are deep in the Kool-Aid. Like they're all in all this modern garbage. So whatever little talent you have left in your studio is being hampered by all the bullshit around them, and the fact that you're outsourcing a lot of your assets in every which direction. So the games cost way more than they ever did. They're being made by worse and smaller teams, bolstered by basically sweatshop labor. At the same time that the overall quality is getting worse, because you're double checking everything and running it by people for modern sensibilities. So the games are just getting worse and worse and worse, and the costs are going up and up and up. And you'd think that was, bad in itself, and but people kept buying and eating them up and whatnot. So like as things are getting worse, it's like you or me will skip a bad game, right? But other people are just buying and saying, maybe it'll get better, maybe it'll do this, whatever.
Yeah, well, that's actually something else that I think is a huge problem, because like not everyone, like you said, is like you and I, where we eat, sleep, and breathe gaming. Like this is what we love to do, and we're gonna follow the news, and we're gonna follow the reviews and shit.
And at the same time,
you and I know to steer clear of Suicide Squad. Like not a lot of people know that.
Exactly. But like even that, like there's some stuff that like I know that you don't know, because like while you're keeping your ears to the ground, like this is kind of stuff that just doesn't make it out there. It's stuff you don't hear about until after the game releases. And what this is culminating in, and it kind of ties back to your point where you're talking about the pandemic bubble and how it's kind of bursting. We've got massive layoffs from multiple companies here in the West. Like
something else that I wanted to talk about too.
Yeah, massive layoffs and massive cancellations from both, normal AAAs, conglomerate groups like Embracer, Microsoft, all these different shit. More so now, 2 months into the year, than the entirety of last year.
Yes.
And people in the know are saying like, do whatever you can to survive. It's not going to get better this year, so just do whatever you have to. And so you look at all that, right? And that's pretty bad. And then it kind of like spins into a different part that a lot of people don't talk about. So like what's going on in the East, in Japan and Korea and whatnot, right? So you go to Japan and Korea. The layoffs aren't nearly as bad, if they're even existent, because they're just now getting hit with some of the culture shock and bullshit that like we've been dealing with for the last couple of years, right? All the, modern sensibilities crap. And what's happening to them now is like, even though they're not laying people off, you have people from here in the West going to them and changing their products. Like it used to be like a game gets made in Japanese or Korean, right? And then it makes its way over here, and then we get a guy to translate it, and then that's a done deal, right?
Right.
Now what they're doing is, because the corporate guys at the top see this as cutting costs, and like the people that want to spread this culture everywhere are like digging their claws in. Now, while the game's in development, they're being sent to crews out here in the West to make changes while the game's in development. Now those games are getting watered down and worse. So it's like everything's kind of fucked right now. Over here, where like everybody bought in, like the companies and corporations and legacies are just crashing. And while that's going on, we have people trying to go to where it doesn't suck and make it suck over there. Luckily, we're kind of at like a turning point. I give this kind of
very bleak picture.
Yeah, it's bleak, but like we said at the beginning, it's been going on for a while. I think that a crash or a near crash like this, where like people are losing their jobs and whatnot, I think it's a good thing. A lot of these people should not be in the industry. They should they're the kind of people like, everybody knows that one like video that was going along, like going around where they're just like, a day in the life in the office at like Twitter or Google, whatever company. Yeah. There are so many people like that in the gaming industry. Exactly. And there are so many people, like I said, that for every one talented person you lose, you're hiring 10 to 15 people that like just can't get the job done. They should not be in the industry. If you can't handle it, you can't cut it, you should be out. And what this is leading to is AAAs and all these conglomerate groups are shrinking, and it's hitting them in their wallets. So now they're kind of doing some turnarounds. A lot of Japanese companies are already like cutting ties with this sensibilities crap that's been going on. Like everybody has like on their web pages where they talk about how much they're trying to do for diversity and equity and all this crap. Those pages are disappearing. Which either means they're getting out of it, or at the very least they know it's an issue and they will eventually have to contend with that. So while things look bad, while there are still bad people out there trying to make the industry worse, and they're clinging to dear life for what they've been doing to this industry for like 10 years, I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's just a matter of how much bullshit we need to deal with in the meantime. Because to kind of round it off is like AAAs, they'll take a hit. Indies have kind of been pompous. They were kind of the big deal back when we were podcasting. We were just like, indies, they're going to be the next big thing. And even I was a little wary even back then about them. Now they're kind of like pompous and they're trying to price their games like $40 experiences when they're really 10. So like they have their own bullshit. Rise of the AA companies is where it's going to be. Like something like a Helldivers, something like a Hi-Fi Rush, games like that.
Yeah.
So I went on a long-winded rant there, but the industry's in such a bad, like you have to rant about it because it's nuts that anybody let it get to this point. It's.
I'm glad that you did go on that rant because I kind of knew in a nutshell what you thought, which obviously was largely what you just said, but I've never actually heard you rant about it. So I'm glad that I got to hear what you actually have what to say.
Because this is, like you said, we're passionate about this, and it's the medium I'm the most with. And while you had your game that you were playing, me, I can go back and play. I play a lot of fighting games, so it's like I have something on repeat to play, even if the current experiences are kind of ass. I can just go back and play that. I can play the old games. I don't want to have to do that. It's like we can have a wonderful industry. Like, it doesn't need to be this way. Just get rid of the people that want to ruin it. Get rid of the people who don't give a shit. Get rid of the people who can't cut it. Let's get back to work. Like, enough.
Well, it's going to take a long time before that happens. I mean, it might take another 10 years.
I'm not expecting 2 years and then a golden age, but I am expecting some kind of turnaround or like a definitive like upward trend in the next 2 years. That's kind of my expectation. And I think in the meantime, we're going to have standout AA experiences and a new wave of indie devs that were kind of like underground, fed up with this bullshit, that are going to be rising to the surface in this time. So not going to be quite the highs of 2004 to 2007, but I think once things start trending in the other direction, we're in for some good times.
Right. Well, so the biggest games that I've actually dumped the most amount of hours into recently have been from AA studios. Helldivers, Remnant, Darktide. Like, these games are a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun, and they have a lot of replay value, and they don't suck. The most important part, don't suck. So I think that you are largely correct, but unfortunately, we just have to wait and see because nobody knows the future, and it's just.
Well, you know me, Dan. I'm an optimist. So
you are, in fact, an optimist. Yes.
So I think, after being in the muck and the mire for, I guess things got really bad like 6 years ago or so, maybe even a little further beyond that. I think we're in for some good times after a few more hard knocks. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Helldivers too.
Yeah.
Look, I still haven't played it yet. But
you really need to find a way to play it because I'm telling you,
I'm sure I'd have a blast with it. Man. But let's look at it. Let's just look at it from the outside looking in. I haven't played it. If we look at all of the statements they make about the game and where they want to take it, if we look at all the reception and the excitement for it so far, these are all good things. And obviously there's a lot of times where devs just kind of spit in your face and then things never come to fruition, but I think I'm willing to put myself out on a limb and say, listen, if this is a game that's just doing its own thing and lives up to all the expectations and everything that is said about it, that's what the industry used to be about. That used to be the standard, where it's just like a game comes out, the developers do what they want because they're saying all the right things right now. It's like, the monetization's not really all that predatory. We're not really going to go much further with it. Oh, I know the game's a huge success, but we're not going to bloat our studio. Like, that was a huge thing for me when they said that. They're just like, we're not going to overhire immediately after success.
They did. He said it would be a catastrophic idea.
Exactly. And, the more I read about Helldivers 2, I fucking love, because it's like, it's another thing that I didn't mention in my little rant. It's like, they're just like, oh, they built it on an obscure engine.
That's right. That's something else that I wanted to talk about. The engine is completely discontinued and there's no support for it, but the engineers made it work anyway because they started building the game on it, and they're like, we're not going to go back now because we don't know how to use Unreal. Yeah,
because listen, if the engine works, the engine fucking works. Who cares if it says Unreal next to it? This reliance on industry standard big name middleware is like another big thing, and it's just because all the sweatshop workers only know how to work with Unreal, and even then just barely. It's like fucking Halo Infinite launched with like this amazing engine, and like the people
Something else that I wanted to talk about.
the Halo Infinite launched with this amazing engine, and the people that were handed Halo Infinite did not know how to handle it.
God.
They literally
also
couldn't
Spaghetti
handle
code,
it. Yeah, it's like that's what I mean by
a
talent
year,
bleed.
a full fucking calendar year to get that game into a reliable playable state.
It's
and it's a shame
to me.
Because the Halo Infinite is probably the best feeling Halo game that we've had since Halo 3.
Yeah.
But everything else around it was just fucking broken.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else around it was just broken. But the gameplay itself, it is the most Halo feeling game, maybe maybe not in the franchise, but like since Halo 3, in my opinion, is the most Halo feeling game since 3. And Halo 3 is the fucking bar.
Yeah, what I'll say is, like, Halo feeling or not, I will say that Halo Infinite feels like a step in the right direction. Like 4 and 5 were kind of like these kind of experimental things where like they kind of like leaned into traditional first person shooting. Infinite feels like it came from the roots of Halo from a gameplay standpoint. I still have a lot to say about the way the game looks and sounds, but the way the game plays, it feels more connected to the roots than 4 and 5 did.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the story was and they promised story DLC, and that's never gonna come.
Yeah.
So that's just a different thing entirely. But actually, on the topic of Halo and Xbox, I wanted to ask you about what you thought of all of these rumors that were spiraling out of control very recently about Xbox moving all their games to everything.
That was a fucking turbulent 2 weeks, huh? Everyone's just like, "Oh, Xbox is done with consoles; they're getting out," and all. Like, so
one guy was singing to his Series S.
Yeah,
I don't know if I showed you.
We were never big into the console wars. It is amazing how people have only gotten more bizarre with that in the last like decade. It's like, listen, I understand the need for competition. I understand liking one console over the other and kind of examining what one does better than the other. But like the absurd warring childish factor like never went away, and that's crazy. Like me and you used to poke fun at it a little bit, like, oh yeah, Xbox all the way, but we were never like super into that fight. We bought other consoles, we played different things, but whatever. Anyway, so after rumors and everything swirling about like, oh, they're leaving the console race, they're doing this, they're blah blah blah, they come out and they lay out all this thing. First they're saying like, oh, the next console is going to be the biggest leap ever. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's just typical standard stuff. Their strategy of porting, like of making these games and porting them to all their different platforms, big win for the consumer, and I'd be behind it. But there's like one thing that fails them and fails me is like years of buying and build up and all this stuff. Everybody knows they're not making enough games. Like if it was
hold on. Oh, you mean Microsoft isn't making enough games?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Microsoft is not making enough games. I mean, nobody in this industry is, except for like maybe Nintendo. But Sony's not doing much better either right now.
I think there's an argument to be made about there are too many games to try to dedicate all your time to, and a lot of them are trying to be these live services. That's
a different conversation. We'll get to that. But what I'm getting at is, Xbox isn't making enough games. Microsoft is not making enough games. If Microsoft was in a strong position where they were utilizing all of their developers, all of their IPs,
a lot of really fucking good development studios.
They had it leading into the Xbox One era, and they had a lot of cool partnerships and a lot of cool deals, and it's only gotten bigger as they purchased more, but they're not making enough games.
A studio.
Yeah, it's like, listen, if their output was good, right?
Yeah,
and
it'd be different.
they were in a position where they were constantly making new games and new games and new games, then I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. After a year and a half of exclusivity, they just port it to other platforms. That makes sense to me. That's like a good guy maneuver that wins people over to you. But at the same time, you have that year of exclusivity where it's like, the people who bought into your console and believe in your ecosystem have that. And that's kind of what they're doing, and that's what it sounds like they want to do going forward. But the problem is they're not making the games. But no. But here's the thing: they are doing that.
Right,
but
they don't have the content though. Yeah,
they don't have the content. It's the strategy's there. The strategy's sound, but at the same time, you don't have the catalog to do that.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Honestly. It's crazy, yeah. But there were a lot of things I like keeping Game Pass to Xbox. I think that's a smart move.
Well, that would be pointless if it came elsewhere.
Yeah, well, people were worried about that because
might as well exit the console wars because
on the website it changed, like the branding changed from Xbox Game Pass to Microsoft Game Pass. So a lot of people were worried about that leading up to it. So, listen, things could change. They could have just been blowing smoke up our ass. We don't know. Something could change in the holidays, but we'll see what happens. But, so I think that their strategy is sound. Their catalog is not. That's all I have to really say about that.
The really scary part, in my opinion, is that not only do they not have the games now, they haven't had the games for a long time. Like the beginning of the Xbox One, they haven't had the games. You can maybe say they had Halo and Gears, but we had Gears 4 and 5 a decent amount of time apart from each other, and then Halo 4 and 5 were awful.
So you mentioned the Xbox One kind of going into that they were already in a bit of a weak position, and I'm inclined to agree, because they had their two biggest players, arguably, and less arguably but more matter-of-factly, because they had things that they had purchased already. They had different games in the back that they could bring forward, but it was Halo and Gears, and Halo and Gears had, you could say, peaked at that point. Halo 3 doesn't really need to be 3. Yeah, I was gonna say Halo 3 doesn't really need a build up behind it. Everybody kind of knows what happened with Halo 3. And Gears 3 is still my personal king of third person shooters. I don't think that
Full stop.
Yeah, full stop. Because nobody makes that kind of third-person shooter experience anymore. Nobody does cover-based third-person shooting. And back then, nobody was doing it quite like Gears. I know, we've had this conversation before, and you've said, Uncharted's pretty good. Uncharted is a good third-person shooter. It is not in the same vein of this kind of third-person shooter. It's just not there.
Gears 3, or Gears in general, had a really heavy emphasis on shoot cover.
Yeah,
looking back on Uncharted, you were not taking cover and staying there unless you were playing on Crush or something.
Yeah, but basically, Xbox, that they had a winding down right as they were kind of hitting their lowest point, because the reception to the Xbox One, being what it was, they still haven't fully recovered from that. But basically, all this leads to is Xbox's current strategy. Good on paper, they just don't have the content to back it up yet. And
they have to know that, though, right?
They've been talking about it, because here's the thing: they've spent the last 3 to 4 years going, "Oh, don't worry, the games are coming. Oh, don't worry, the games are coming." And listen, there have been some strides.
They were banking fucking hard on Starfield, and that thing.
I don't think it tanked, but it here's my thing about Starfield.
It wasn't what they wanted it to be. It wasn't what Bethesda wanted it to be. It was just Skyrim in space.
I wouldn't even go that far. I think a lot of its issues stem from the fact that it doesn't have, when you look at the Elder Scrolls and when you look at Fallout, there's a very distinct identity there, and I think because of all the things we mentioned before about the industry, that also hits Bethesda and Microsoft. There's a lot of flat, bland, watered down elements to Starfield, despite the core premise being very much a good Bethesda in space kind of thing that I think was just hampered in a lot of ways. And that being said, diehard Bethesda guys, they're happy with it. Me, I'm more of
I'm sure they are.
Yeah, I like Oblivion. I like some of the Fallouts. I like the older Fallouts a bit better. But basically,
I was never ever into any of those games.
Yeah, you're never big into it. Yeah. But basically, Xbox, bit of a weak state. They could very easily bring it back. They have had better communications. They have been doing better announcements. They are ramping up in a way, just not in the way they need to be, and they needed to be there a while ago.
Thing is, they need to come out swinging soon,
and we'll see what happens.
Activision deal.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, because I think they're gonna start dipping into the Activision properties. They already, Diablo 4 is on the way. the never going to be on Game Pass, as the guy from Blizzard said, it's going to be on Game Pass next month. They said going forward, all Activision titles will be day one Game Pass. Does that mean Call of Duty 2? That'd be pretty fucking huge for the Xbox brand if Call of Duty was on there day one. But basically, that's where Xbox is. And Sony's not really off the hook either, because like they've spent the same time where Xbox is kind of going through this and having their like identity crisis and all this other nonsense. Sony was in the process of like leaning into cinematic experiences. And they also like
kind of are, no?
They still are, but like now, as Sony's still leaning into these cinematic experiences, the cinematic experiences they're copying or aiming for are having these like this modern like sensibility stuff put into them. So now they're copying that too. It's why Spider-Man 2 wasn't anywhere near as good as the first Spider-Man 1 Insomniac game was, and why both weren't all that great from a story standpoint. And a
I didn't get into The Last of Us.
Yeah, Last of Us, that deserves its own I can't believe I played The Last of Us 2. Like I didn't pay. Yeah, disclaimer. I did play Last of Us 1. It bored the shit out of me. Last of Us. Yeah, I didn't like it. Last of Us 2. I need to. This is an important disclaimer, Dan. Important. I didn't pay a fucking dime for Last of Us 2. You did not get me on that. All right. I borrowed it from a guy who was renting it. That's how little money you made from me off of that fucking little transaction, buddy. So like, listen, I played it. Holy shit, what a terrible. But anyway, so that's what Sony's all about now. They spent the last couple of years tearing its soul out. Like it was very much a Japanese company for a while, and like all of those Japanese IPs, all those Japanese studios, they closed Studio Japan, which kind of filled in the gaps.
Really? I didn't know that.
No, they did. They did a while ago. All those different brands and stuff that came out during the PlayStation 2 era from American companies, those are pretty much dead. The fact that there's Ratchet and Clank in this day and age is stunning to me, and even that had fuckery with it, the modern fuckery with it, because you had like one of the raging Gamergate like women writing for it that actively hates all these games but still keeps getting hired at all these places on the inside pushing for changes. But on the bright side, she's not with Insomniac anymore, and you're getting another Ratchet and Clank in like 5 years, so you have that to look forward to. Maybe something will be amazing. So. Yeah. No, that was in the Insomniac leaks. Did you see the Insomniac leaks?
Oh, I didn't look at them. No.
Insomniac leaks are Spider-Man, Venom, X-Men, Wolverine, Ratchet and Clank. And in that, they talk about how bloated the costs are getting. So now they're talking about splitting up AAA experiences and selling them in two different pieces. That's going to be a fucking nightmare.
That's what they do with Final Fantasy. That's what they're doing with Final Fantasy 7. Didn't they split up that game?
So listen, that's a different kind of conversation. It's tough. Like okay, I don't want to go to bad.
I'm not a Final Fantasy fan.
Their justification there is they wanted to kind of build up each of the sections that people are familiar with Final Fantasy VII into their own games. Rebirth, the one that's coming out soon, looks like a fuller experience. Remake, the one that came out beforehand, was like 3/4 of the way there, so it's like a little different. This, what they're talking about with Insomniac, they're talking about making the game and like splitting it up as they're making the game to cut on costs. That's what they're talking about.
Asinine.
And in those same leaks, I know we started by talking about Xbox, but it all just bleeds together into this disastrous mess. Is for some reason, I don't think Ratchet and Clank made its money back because for some reason it cost like $40 million to make or something. Like the same.
I think it was because of the technology behind the world jumping.
No, that's bullshit. Listen. All due respect, I'm sure that's where the money went. That's also bullshit. There's no reason for it to be that expensive. How could it be both?
You just said. I'm sure that's true, but that's also bullshit.
I said it's true and it's also bullshit because I believe them when they say it costs that much. I'm saying it shouldn't cost that much is my point.
Well,
that's why I
say
you
don't know how the tech works.
I know for a fact it doesn't cost $40 million fucking dollars to render two worlds at the same time. That makes no sense. It's bullshit. Like, listen, I am not an experienced game developer. I'm not. I'm also not a fucking invalid. I know that cost is way too much because it's just.
I haven't seen Riled Up Anthony in a while. This is
because it's like here's the thing. I'm about at my fucking limit when it comes to all these excuses of people saying it's like, oh, the game needs to cost this much because we made an engine where you go through a wormhole and a world appears. What? That makes no sense. That's why your game costs $40 million. That's why the next Spider-Man is going to be split up, is because you bloat the budget and the cost and all this bullshit. You're not spending your money right. You're getting rid of people that like should be building these games from a passionate standpoint. Cut the game cost to like next to nothing. AAA needs to burn. I want these companies to fail. This is too much. This is too fucking much. Too much. It's all bullshit. I can't. Like I have you saying, well, you don't know how it works. I have the fucking devs saying, oh, well, you don't know how this works. These are the same people that said like when the PlayStation 5 came out and all these games were mysteriously becoming exclusives, they're just like, well, it's because of solid state. The fuck does that mean, solid state? That was like full-blown Apple move. Like, the solid state had never been done before. And then the second that these games get PC ports, you're just like, oh, well, that was bullshit. Like, it just runs. Like, that's why, like, even if I was a fucking invalid, I would be able to grasp it, because the games come out later and you can buy them and you can be that one jerk off that goes to Best Buy and says, I want a game for $500, and with a little bit of fucking elbow grease you could get that game to run at 30 frames per second. So don't give me this like, oh, the game needed to be $40 million because of a wormhole bullshit.
Oh my god, we need to have a whole rant, like a whole ranting episode of you just going off. This is great.
Dan, listen, I love this industry. I love this medium. I hate what's going on in it. So I just, like, when I get fed bullshit like that, it just pisses me off. It's awful.
Oh man, that's
so
funny.
I guess what I'm saying is I like, the Xbox strategy. I think I think they got a good idea. They just need to fucking follow through. And Sony has a new guy in charge coming back, and he's a Japanese man, so hopefully he reins things in after the Americans spent like 10 years trashing the company. Next topic, done.
A lot of ex-devs from like a bunch of really well-known studios like BioWare, Bungie, Activision, or like what was the other one? Shit, Insomniac maybe. Like there's a bunch of games that were recently announced that they're collaborating together with all these devs from different studios that are experienced devs that are making these games. A lot of extraction shooters for some reason. That obviously that's trend chasing, but you hear that these veteran developers are coming to these new studios to work on these games. I don't know. It makes me think.
It's every bad idea that we've heard in the past like 20 years, but it's at such extremes because of how bad things are. Like that kind of stuff. That's just typical like corporate guys at the top saying, "Hey, we need money makers." But while they're saying that, the trends have long passed. The industry's in the shitter. So you have like what little talent is left in the industry is circling different companies, making these fucking 10-year-old trend-chasing games. Like you mentioned before, Suicide Squad. Who the fuck wants that? Who the fuck wanted Suicide Squad? That's so many things. That's a good example, actually. Suicide Squad.
Every single bad trend in the industry clobbered together into one package.
From the premise up, because it's like they're chasing in-game, loot. They're chasing, What
about after? And then we're gonna go into spoilers here because fuck that game. Yeah. But what about like after you kill everybody and then it had like for our friend Kevin Conroy? Bam! Buy this loot box.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
What is that?
They have this touching tribute to Kevin Conroy, and right at the end, it's just like as soon as it ends, you hear like the banter is like, "Look at this gold gun that you unlocked." So it's like you have this Schluter that was originally going to have loot boxes and microtransactions and all this other shit, and on top of that, it's a Suicide Squad game. This idea formulated when people gave a shit about the Suicide Squad. It's been 2 Suicide Squad movies since. One was terrible, one was moderate.
I
Fucking
enjoyed the James Bond one. It was fun.
it's funny because like I watched a lot of this. I'm not paying for that game. Maybe if it hits Game Pass, we can do like a little like.
I'm not buying that game. Are you
Yeah,
crazy?
if the opportunity ever comes, and I'm letting this, I'm prefacing this right now. If you ever see the pregame network play this game, we will not have paid for it. I don't care if it's either literal theft or we got it for free on Game Pass. We will never give them money for that because that game is a fucking train wreck. But what I was getting at is I was watching it, and the game was allegedly in development for what, six months? 6 months, Jesus, 6 years. No, it feels like it was in development 6 months, 6 years, and like there was
in like a year and a half.
There was
realistically,
yeah, there was layoffs. There were, you had both heads of the company founders leave, and you could
that's nuts.
You could feel that in the game where it's like you'd see like some cool concepts or some quality work.
All right,
and like
it's just I'm out. Send me my check.
But here's the thing, like you could feel like something starting to take root, and then like all the new blood, the terrible new blood just came in and made this terrible product, and then you have like the guys from Canada that they outsource the writing to get their claws in it, and like everything just starts to suck. Like whatever that 10% base was completely just covered in garbage from all of the terrible trends from the last 10 years.
When I saw, or when I first heard about, and then I saw the cutscene after they kill Flash, and then Captain Boomerang just takes a piss on him. I don't know if you know of that, but that happened in the game. I watched the cutscene. I'm like, who in the fuck thought this was a good idea? Somebody greenlit that?
Yeah, it's it's so crazy. It's crazy. There's a lot wrong with this for multiple reasons. One, I think you could do a Suicide Squad kill the Justice League. Here's the thing. I know that sounds absolutely bonkers. You could. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Regardless of whether you take that concept and it's like a fake out, right? Where it's like, oh, you're actually killing them, or like, hey, there's like time travel and you kind of go back and you fix things, right? Regardless of how you take that, you would need to. You have the Batman Arkham games. Rocksteady wanted to make a Superman game. It kept getting shit canned. You could have introduced like Green Lantern and Wonder Woman and Superman in their own games, and then eventually you come together and you make the Suicide Squad game where the stakes are high because you know all these characters and you love them because you experience this kind of like universe, because everybody likes to poo-poo the universe, the shared universe games. That's still a cool concept to me. It's run into the ground now. But anyway, so you could have this where it says like, okay, you played all the Batman Arkham games, you played the Superman game, you played the Wonder Woman game. Somewhere along the line, you get Green Lantern, he gets introduced and whatnot, and you have all these characters you love. Now, you go to the Suicide Squad game, and it needs to be radically different. It's just like, okay, Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, and everybody immediately said, oh, it's either going to be a fake out, or you're going to have the option to kill them. It really should have been an option, like almost like, a traditional gaming experience where there's choices, and you could fail, and things like that. But instead, it's half the length the game needs to be. It's got all this unnecessary Schluter shit shoved into it. It's disrespectful to characters you didn't even get a chance to meet, which is very impressive. And then it ends with like, oh, you're going to be going to different dimensions to fight something that is so out of your league that the Justice League couldn't handle. And it's all disrespectful. It's all bullshit.
The marketing media pivot after they revealed it for the very first time was hysterical. Mm-hmm. And then they had like this whole video series that came out of Rocksteady HQ that it was like Justice Suicide Squad Declassified. It was something along those lines of like it had some title. It was like 3 or 4 videos. They're like 20 minutes a pop, and they kept on using this language around the game of like, oh, you can decide how your Harley Quinn looks. You can make these choices in the game of how you approach this, that, and the other thing. And all these 4 different characters basically function as different classes. They all feel different. They have different abilities, different way of going back. It was all bullshit. It was all bullshit. Yeah. Like they should have gotten hit with a fucking class action lawsuit for false advertising.
I'm gonna tell you right now.
I don't understand how they get away with this shit.
If if CD Projekt Red got away with releasing Cyberpunk the way that they did, none of these companies are going to get hit with a fucking lawsuit for any of the shit they say. So
but
it's
so the and it's tough for me because I absolutely loved Cyberpunk the second time I played through it after it was fixed and after it got the expansion. I know that you have your issues with it, which are well founded, and
it's going to be its own.
You're not wrong.
Thing.
Yeah, you're not wrong in having those picking those bones with that game. But I was never like on the hype train at all when the media circus was going on leading up to launch, because I thought it was going to be another CD Projekt Red like RPG like The Witcher, and I was never into The Witcher. So it came out and it flopped fucking hard. I'm like, dodge that bullet.
Remember when the Xbox One version was just so fucked that they had to like take it off
they basically had to delist it. Yeah.
It's not available.
But I mean, you're not wrong. If they can get away with doing what they did, and they got sued, I think, right? Didn't they get sued for that by the shareholders?
I forget the shareholders and the Polish government got involved because I think the government had money in the project, so they were kind of obligated to finish it, and they dodged.
Which is wild, also.
They dodged legal repercussions by continuing to release.
Fixing it?
I wouldn't even say fixed, but they continually released content for it.
Fixed now. I mean, delivering on promises is different from fixing it.
Basically, I know I ranted a little bit about it, but like, if you take a look, if you take a look at like, we talked about Xbox and Sony and all the different cinematic things, I do think that while I said before that Destiny 2 and Destiny as a brand is good to look at as like kind of like how the industry kind of like went the way that it did, and like you can kind of see the different bad choices in it, I think Suicide Squad is a good look at something that's like a culmination of all those bad things, because it dips into like every little bit of outsourcing. It has all of the bad trends.
Really
kind of
the zenith of the bad trends.
Exactly. It's got a little bit of every bad trend in there. It shits on a legacy. And it's completely
in the most disrespectful way, no less.
Yeah,
like, it's so bad.
It's so multiple levels of bad, and it's entirely propped up by a company that is basically hollowed out and has entirely different teams behind it. It's.
Yep.
I honestly hope that Suicide Squad's failure, or at least its bad reception, kills Rocksteady. Just puts it out of its fucking misery, because it's most of the people aren't there anymore. It's a completely different crew, and it's undeserved of its legacy. I remember I read like when the lease came out, they did like one of those whole like, companies like to do now. It's like kind of like a PowerPoint, almost a little letter where it's just like, everyone here from Rockstar would like to say blah 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 blah, and I'm just like, I don't have the patience for it, because it's not written by anyone on the team. Even if it was, the team's not the team that made the Arkham games, and it's bold-faced lie for nobody. This is written for people that had nothing to do with the game, by people that have nothing to do with this game, in order to save face and lie directly about what we've seen about it and the leaks.
How many of those JPEG files have we gotten over like I don't know, 5 years? It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's bad.
We're sorry.
Yeah,
we're sorry.
we screw up. We do bad.
Dude, it's like a problem,
It is.
And then there's no such thing as refunds on games. So you're kind of fucked if you spend your money on it. Aside from Steam, where like you have like 2 hours or something.
Yeah, and certain countries have like, it's like written in the law where you have you're like entitled to a certain grace period depending on where you are, but those come with other caveats like in-game currency. It's weird. Like I think Japan has like a built-in return policy on DLC, which I never heard, which is like 30 days or something. But if you buy in-game currency in Japan, in-game currency expires, so it's like there's like weird gives and takes depending on where you go.
It's real shiesty.
Yeah.
It's real shiesty because like you don't really know until you play the game. You don't really know, and these games could look very pretty. They could look really good, but until you get your hands on like a local copy that's running on your hardware,
you don't know what you're dealing with.
Know. Yeah, you just don't know.
And you're shit out of luck when it doesn't turn out the way you want. Oops.
Yeah, it's a real shame.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I would hate to end on such a dour note. You have anything else a little bit more positive before we wrap this up?
Well, like I said before, I do think we're in for some good times as soon as like the absolute, like, if it's not a hard crash, it's going to be some kind of crash. We're already seeing it with the layoffs and all that kind of stuff. I do think AA is going to be on the rise. I think as things turn around, not just in the industry but in the culture, we're going to see legacy companies that haven't tarnished themselves or haven't destroyed themselves are going to start easing the brakes on a lot of these bad policies. They're going to learn from the ones that are crashing. I think we're going to see creators that have been kind of like underfoot when it came to a lot of these things, or like couldn't rise up because of these. I think they're going to find their way to break in. I think when things start getting bad, a lot of these bad actors will just like scurry out. You know, there are some that will be content to kind of like ride it until it dies completely, but I do think a lot of them are going to flee just for self-preservation purposes. I think the industry and the medium is obviously worth fighting for, and I think there are people out there that are going to make great experiences again. As long as like
I totally agree with all that.
So that's where I'm at. And I, in
people
the meantime,
just love games too much. Honestly.
Yeah. And in the meantime, we have stuff to play. Yeah. Just you know,
you gotta find a way to get Helldiver. I mean, what GPU do you have in your system?
It's an old boy. What is it? A 970, a 980?
Oh wow. Okay, yeah. There's really no hope for you.
Thanks, bud.
Unless you buy a PlayStation or a new GPU.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. I'm gonna buy a PlayStation 5. Come on. We just got done talking about there's no fucking games for it.
Sure there is. You just don't like any of them.
Yeah, well, that means there's no games on them.
Oh, shut up.
So we'll see what happens. I do think good things are coming. In the meantime, we just gotta hope that, honestly, there's been like a recent push for things like games and anime and all this nerdy shit that, like, back when we were in high school, like, not that it affected either. Right? Yeah, it was frowned upon. It was seen as nerdy. Not that it affected either of us, because like we didn't give a shit. But there's kind of like a push for that again, to be nerdy, because like people infiltrate these hobbies, and then at the same time they're saying the hobbies are inherently bad. So now, instead of infiltrating them and saying they're bad, you have people just saying they're bad and nerdy and weird. Hopefully, I mean, hey, I'm for it. Yeah, keep calling me weird. I don't give a fuck. Just stay away from what I like doing. Like, you can call me where the fuck you want. You're wrong, but like let me have my like little fucking corner over here. You say whatever you want over there. So we'll see. I think things are going to be okay. The future
does look bright. I mean, I never would imagine in a million years that, like, we would get half of the games that we've gotten that can do some of the things that they do. Listen, for all the shit we talk about, things like talent bleed and companies failing and predatory practices, technology has just been getting better. So potential is still out there, and the bar to entry is getting lower, which is why indies are kind of, getting so full of themselves. That games cost as much as they do to make. Otherwise, I mean, I'm pretty sure
that's the thing.
We would making something.
See, that's the thing. That's the myth, and that's got to break. The cost of games, as being as high as they are, completely avoidable bloat. And I'm hoping that as things get really bad, companies realize that, because that bloat is purely in marketing, outsourcing, overhiring, and reliance on middleware. More companies need to start.
Have you? Because I need people to drag me back down to earth.
Yeah, because, like, listen, the costs are astronomical, but they don't need to be, is what I'm getting at.
I think Arrowhead put out maybe 3 trailers for Helldivers.
Yeah, and they worked on end of life software. They're not bloating their team. They're not going nuts with the marketing.
It's actually ironic. Like, everything good about the industry that we used to love was accomplished by Helldivers.
Exactly. That's what I said when we were talking about Hell. I haven't played it yet, but if you follow the reception, you follow that, it's what the norm is. And companies can keep saying, like, oh, the games cost too much to make. It's avoidable. Completely avoidable. I honestly hope that a lot of these jobs that are being lost, they never come back. It's just the way that it is. It's bloat. You bought into a bloated thing. Most of you, I don't even want to like pretend sympathy to these people, because a lot of them are just bad actors or lazy, terrible people, and they shouldn't have been in the industry in the first place. The 10% of you that are all right, I'm sorry, you'll bounce back, but it's just like the rest of you, just go
You'll end up your game.
Yeah, go work at Hulu or something. How about you take the guys that came from Hulu to work on the Call of Duty stuff? Why don't you take them with you? Yeah, why don't you all get the fuck out of here? Just leave. Don't come back. I'm tired of you. But yeah, hopefully there's at least a soft crash so that we can reset the prices back to normal and get back to actually working on stuff. If not, I'm content in AAA dying, and we'll just focus on AA, and hopefully the indies,
Hey man, AA, some AA experiences are the most fun that I've had in like the past decade.
I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying that bracket is good because like they're trying to push their costs up, but they really shouldn't.
Yeah.
AA is a prime example of the fact that you can still make a game as long as you're not trying to, squeeze another 100% of fidelity, and you're marketing this to like on Times Square or whatever. Like, it's unnecessary. Just calm down. Like you are defeating yourself before the game even comes out.
People will find out about it. Like, if it's good enough, people will tell their friends, and their friends will tell their friends, and it'll explode.
And here's the fucking thing, Dan. Honestly, better off if the global, modern, and overseas audiences don't find what you're looking for. Just get decent sales without all the bullshit. Here's what you do. You make a good game. You don't bloat the cost. You sell it. People buy it. It's that simple. You don't need to overspend on marketing so people who hate you and don't really care about you or your product come and buy the game, and then it's just a fucking nightmare. There needs to be like a fucking tribunal and like a report on like all of the different brands and companies and IPs that just bought in and got damaged to all this bullshit. It's just going to be like when we're in our 60s, we're going to be looking back at this, and it's going to be like the way that people look at the fucking Trail of Tears. Like, it's just going to be like this horrible black stain on like human expression that was just like thrown away for, pushing budgets and profits as far as they could possibly go, defeating themselves, and creativity was being hampered at every angle. It's disastrous.
Well, I am definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah. So I'm. It's gonna suck to look
up this episode.
Yeah.
What an opener.
I love these games. I love this medium. It could be doing so much better, and I'm tired not just of the bad things happening, but useful idiots telling me that the bad things are necessary and really aren't happening, and if they are happening, they're a great thing. I don't need to hear that anymore. Things suck now. Let's rein it. Let's rein it in, please. I'm done.
All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, I missed this.
Yeah, me too. Actually, this was actually very enjoyable. So, I guess that was the first episode of
the Pre-Game Network Podcast.
Yes, of the Pre-Game Network Podcast, and I think we'll do 2 a month, maybe, depending on what content there is to talk about. It
depends what comes our way and what we hear, because obviously we have other things that we do on the side, so we don't always need to do these podcasts. But if there's a lot to talk about, especially regardless of whether things get worse or get better or what order they happen and what extremes, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot to talk about. So we'll probably end up doing this more than you'd imagine.
Got a good harvest coming up.
Yeah, we do. But in the meantime, obviously, we'll be doing, all the stuff I've already been doing on the channel. We're going to be doing our game recommendations more often and more frequently. We'll do discussions. You said I do the news hole. You mentioned you might want to do that at some point. So there's a lot, even if it's not just this podcast, there is a lot to check out between us, both for just raw entertainment, what's going on, music, gameplay, all this kind of. We have tons of stuff that we have in the pipeline and in the catalog, and there's a lot going on. So.
Indeed. All right, very cool. Well, for the 3 of you that are listening to the first one, thanks for listening. And well, I guess we'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye.